So much going on in this transfer window. Let's get an update now on the Morgan Gibbs-White to Tottenham situation and Forest's threat of legal action. Our football correspondent, Rob Dorset, broke the story on Friday. Rob's in here now. Right. Big twist today. Tell us.
This is hot off the press. This has just happened. I've just had confirmation from this. The rift between Nottingham Forest and Tottenham seems to be getting ever wider. I can tell you now that Forest have written to both Tottenham and to Morgan Gibbs-White's representative, his agent, threatening legal action over what has happened, but saying they're not going to do that yet. They've sent letters that are described as putting both parties on legal notice, is how it's been described to me, Mike. And what that means is reminded them of their obligations and spelling out how Forest believe that both Tottenham and Morgan Gibbs-White's agent have breached the terms of his contract. Now, we know what Forest's complaint is here. They say that they never gave permission for Tottenham to speak to Morgan Gibbs-White, and the fact that the bid from Tottenham was worth £60 million, which was exactly the buyout clause which was supposed to be confidential in Gibbs-White's contract, shows that there's been a breach of confidentiality in that essence as well. Now, Tottenham are saying nothing publicly. Forest are saying nothing publicly about this. But Tottenham, my understanding is that they feel they've done nothing wrong, and this kind of happens all the time. Clubs often approach players to maybe sound them out before they make any sort of movement further forward. Let's be clear,
they're not allowed to do that.
They're not allowed to do that.
So whether they say it's happened all along, they're still against the rules.
If Forest have proof that that's happened, then proof could be a moot point here. And it is in the Premier League rules, as you say, Rule T3, I've looked it up, says you cannot approach a player in any way or their representatives unless you've got written permission beforehand. Forest say, we never gave written permission beforehand, so they've now written both to Morgan Gibbs-White's agent and to Tottenham saying, look, yellow card, if you like. Red card is when we go fully legal on it. Forest haven't complained to the Premier League formally yet. They haven't gone to their lawyers and say, right, sue, yet. But they're making it very, very clear to everybody involved that they're prepared to do that if it doesn't go away. Right.
Now, you told us earlier that Forest have been trying to tie Morgan Gibbs-White down to a long-term contract. What's the story?
This came out of the blue for me today. This has not been reported before. We didn't know that was the case, but it's been made clear to me that Nottingham Forest, for almost 12 months, have been trying to tie this guy down to a new, improved, extended contract. They're prepared to almost double his wages, Mike, make him one of, if not the highest paid player at the club, in exchange for getting rid of that £60 million buyout clause. Now, Morgan Gibbs-White and his representatives, I'm told, haven't wanted to do that. They haven't wanted to negotiate. And from the Forest boss's perspective, they've taken that as a sign that, well, his long-term future, he's not committing that to Nottingham Forest. So it's pretty clear that Forest are going to make this as difficult as they possibly can for Morgan Gibbs-White to go away. But the fact of the matter is, there is this £60 million clause in there. Everybody's aware of it now, even if they weren't before. And so it may be very difficult for Forest to keep him in the long term.
Rob, I find that interesting. So we've just found that out, that they've been trying to tie him down for 12 months. Is that the powers that be at Nottingham Forest saying, fans, we've tried, it's not us, it's him?
I think there's a bit of that. I think there's definitely a bit of that. Because, look, Forest took the decision to sell Anthony Elanga, one of their best players, to Newcastle for a deal that could be worth £55 million. They were in control of that. There was no buyout clause. They aren't in control of Morgan Gibbs-White's future if somebody comes in and they accept and do it properly as far as Forest are concerned, the £60 million. But Marinakis, Evangelos Marinakis, the owner here, does not want to come across as a selling club. He has huge ambitions for Nottingham Forest going forward. They've got European football next season, whether it's the Europa League or the Conference League, we get to find out, of course. But in that light, he wants to bring new players in. He doesn't want to sell his best. And losing £115 million worth of talent in the space of a week would not be a good sign for Nottingham Forest. So I think this is much about PR and saying to everybody, look, we're not going to roll over when a Big Six club comes in for our players. I think that's a big part of what Forest and particularly Evangelos Marinakis is trying to do here.
Right, we've got a real impasse here then. We've got Morgan Gibbs-White on one side with his representatives, and we've got Nottingham Forest hierarchy on the other side. Where do they stand legally?
Really interesting, this. And I've done some work on this and spoken to some specialist lawyers in this area. And they've made it clear to me here that both sides potentially have a legal claim here. Nottingham Forest, if they can prove that there was tapping up and an illegal approach for the player, can complain to the Premier League. But also, if they can prove that there's been a breach of that confidentiality in relation to the £60 million buyout clause, they could sue over that for breach of contract. Equally, Morgan Gibbs-White, if he wants to, could go down the line of saying, well, you've breached my contract, Nottingham Forest, because it's written into my contract that if a club comes in and offers £60 million, you have to let me go. A club has come in and offered £60 million and you're stopping me from going. That's a breach of contract. So how this all ends up, we don't know yet. If Morgan Gibbs-White really wants to go to Tottenham, he could go on strike. He could put in a transfer request. He could say, you've breached my contract and I'm going to sue you and I'm not going to play for Forest again, all of which is possible. No sign of him doing that right now. He's still training, he's still turning up and doing everything that he should do as a Nottingham Forest player. Alternatively, Tottenham could come in with a bigger offer. They could come and say, look, OK, we didn't do it right. £63 million, £65 million, whatever the figure is, to try and get Morgan Gibbs-White to sort of sweeten the deal with Forest. Again, no indication that Tottenham are prepared to do that at the moment. Theirs is a watching brief. I'll just give you one third option, Mike.
Go on.
Well, we know he's a good player. We know he's liked by an awful lot of clubs in the Premier League and in Europe. We know that Manchester City were interested in Morgan Gibbs-White at the start of this window but haven't pursued it. I wonder what the chances are of Manchester City or another club thinking there's a bit of an impasse here. We know how much it's going to cost. Let's come in and offer just above what his buyout clause is and see if we can trump Tottenham here. That's something Tottenham will be concerned about, but they're not rushing to anything. It's going to be a fascinating debate, a fascinating battle between the two clubs, and where Morgan Gibbs-White plays his football next season, I think, is still very much up in the air.
Like that, Rob Dorsett. Like that a lot. Intrigue. Rob Dorsett, our football correspondent. Thanks, Rob.